Welcome everybody. First things first, as always, if I could just get a quick audio visual check, please. Let me know how you're all doing this fine evening. Let me know if you can see my charts clearly, you can hear me okay. How are you all doing? After a quick confirmation, we'll get started here. But yeah, exciting stuff, guys. Bitcoin has been quite volatile today. A few things I want to talk about. It is a little bit of a late one. Just kind of got back from the lake and stuff. So not sure how many people will end up joining this late, but we will see. But yeah, after a quick confirmation, let me know you can hear me clearly, see everything all right. And how are you all feeling about crypto right now? Do you think we're about to drop off a cliff? Do you think we're going to explode to the upside? How is everyone feeling about the markets? Yeah, guys, honestly, Bitcoin's at a very interesting place right now. Bitcoin's been climbing beautifully, honestly, but until this morning. So we need to take a look at a few things because honestly, bull or bear right now, I think it's a good time to be cautious for many reasons. Right on. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, guys, basically, I've been warning about this level for quite some time. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Stu, you've been bearish for, weeks at this point. So yeah, obviously, eventually you're going to be correct. But the thing is, guys, I've been very vocal about this being the level that I'm interested in. Other than down here, I was wrong, right? That micro trend broke. I will give credit where credit is due. The bulls did end up breaking through that lower high at that point. So at that point, the lower high was broken. My micro trend was then invalidated. At that point, that's where I started saying it's a very real possibility that we end up testing the macro STUBER. And that's basically exactly what we did. And not only that, guys, from those of you who have been here with my live streams, I have been saying for so long now that as soon as we hit that 786 here, that is where we're going to see a whole bunch of FOMO. We're going to see the bullish posts on social media, people laughing at people saying that it was the market top. Just a whole bunch of, yeah, we're about to go to all-time highs, blah, blah, blah. That FOMO was right on point. Right as we hit the 786, we started seeing those posts on social media and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just very obvious that that's the emotions that come out as we trade into resistance. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now. We're going to have to see what happens here. I'm in a little bit of a short. I have already taken profits on half of it because, as always, guys, I was quite vocal even in the Telegram, guys. For those of you in there, I was talking about how as we're trading in this macro STUBER fib resistance, basically any lower time frame setup that I can find, I'm going to just look for scalps to the downside, and I'm going to be updating my stop losses quickly, removing my risk quickly, starting to pay myself quickly. So even though I've barely got any of the move that I'm kind of expecting here, just to remove my risk completely from the market, I've already closed half of my position. It's from up here, this blue dotted line here. But I've already closed half because I'm very willing to be wrong with this setup, right? The fact is that there is still a strong uptrend. It may have been broken here, right? We lost a very important level there, not only losing the 786 and breaking below, obviously we're trading right around it right now, but also this structure, right? The fact that we had all this consolidation up here and we obviously lost some very important structure there. And that's right in that area, right in that resistance zone that I've been warning about on a larger scale, right? So as it stands right now, I'm treating resistance for what it is. I'm still looking for those short positions and basically looking to remove my risk very quickly and hoping to catch a runner with half of my position. Because at this point, yes, I am leaning towards the bearish side with my trading bias. But honestly, there's some things in the market I can't ignore. One being altcoins have been performing very well. I mentioned in my last stream that a lot of the trading that I'm doing while Bitcoin kind of makes up its mind here has been spot trading high volatility meme coins and just spot trading without leverage. One of the reasons is because, I mean, altcoins have a lot cleaner structure, in my opinion, with a lot of things just pointing to the bullish side. So the fact that not all hope is lost in the market as Bitcoin's seen this little bit of a correction, right? All of my altcoins today have been pumping, like my shitty meme coins, they've been pumping today, even though Bitcoin has been crashing. So it's great. I'm kind of making profits from both angles right now, which is great. But honestly, how I feel right now is Bitcoin's basically, as the title shows, I truly believe we are on the edge. We're at some sort of a breaking point. I really think Bitcoin is about to make a very large move, and I may be wrong about which direction it's going to go, right? It could absolutely blast to the upside, especially now. I mean, the fact that we kind of got rejected here a little bit. If we now go up and just end up invalidating all that and turning this old resistance into support, I mean, we might just end up taking off on a rocket ship like everybody wants. And I would be absolutely thrilled with that if it happens. But if we see Bitcoin kind of drop into the downside and altcoins are pumping, pumping to the moon, that may be a little bit of a warning sign that, yeah, there's great profits to be made. But often that is kind of one of the last hurrahs with the market cycle, is where Bitcoin kind of does its thing. It finally finds its top, and then altcoins get their final push that really drives FOMO into the market because there's crazy percentages going up and stuff like that. And that's when you start to see that potentially the end of the cycle, right? But guys, I want to be very clear about that's a lot of what ifs, right? As it stands right now, yeah, we're at a level of resistance, but if we just end up climbing higher on the weekly, for example, on the monthly and timeframes like that, I mean, then absolutely, if we just keep staircasing higher and setting higher highs and higher lows, then all of my bearish theories go out the window, and whatever the little bit of spot that I'm selling at these levels, I can always buy it back if we end up going to the upside here and just consider it a small loss, just like any other trade. That's all there is to it. Like I mean, all there is at the end of the day is that we are trading into resistance, and yeah, emotions are going high. I'm totally open to the idea we could go a little higher because, for one, we never quite got that divergence that I was talking about on the RSI. We never quite got back up to that 70 level, and I was really expecting us to get to that point while we were trading into resistance. So maybe we even do see us pump a little bit higher and get some sort of a swing fail here. That would really end up getting with people's emotions. And if we get that divergence going with it, it's something I'm not opposed to. It's absolutely possible. There's a very large range of resistance right now because this is a very large time frame, right? This has been forming since December, basically, this range. So it's a very long time frame. It takes a long time to play out. But like I said, we are still at resistance at this point. But again, how I feel about Bitcoin and altcoins is different. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed that your altcoin bags have been flying this week because Bitcoin dominance has been just dropping off a cliff. I mean, we can just look for some sort of a trend line here. I mean, we could find several different trend lines, I'm sure, depending how you want to draw them. But basically, no matter how you look at it, we obviously lost a very big uptrend, even if we want to say, lost that higher low structure, actually even technically a little bit higher. But even if we call it that one, just for the sake of being cleaner and easier to see, structure broke, and then Bitcoin dominance dropped off a cliff and altcoins started pumping. And so many altcoins, you guys, I'm going to use a meme coin here, FWOG. I believe it's something like a $90 million market cap. I think this one actually has a fairly high market cap. But you can just see what's happening. Basically, the opposite of Bitcoin, right, is that a lot of these altcoins are starting to break structure to the upside. These ones that form these rounding bottoms, they, basically everybody assumes that they're dead. They're never coming back to life. Like this chart right here on the daily basically looks like an entire market cycle to me. How eventually when selling pressure runs out and then the charts start breaking to the upside, and then you're in an uptrend until proven otherwise, right? So the fact that even with my AI charting tools here lays out this lower high structure, and I do agree with that, because here would have been our low, and we set a lower low here, So the highest point between the two would be up here. And notice that we closed just this daily candle about 15 minutes ago, 13 minutes ago. We closed it above this level. So even though, yeah, it makes sense that we could see a pullback, some sort of a retest, but that's a bullish structure break. And I know not all of you are trading these memer coins like I am, but I like them because they're volatile and I'm just kind of trading them spot like I had mentioned. But this one is a fairly high market cap, as long as the data I was looking at is correct. I guess do your own research. But again, just the fact that it's breaking structure, and a lot of meme coins, a lot of altcoins are breaking this kind of structure. Even if I want to zoom in a little further to the 4 hour, I know I talk about this in pretty much every stream with the MDX Trendmaster indicator. I love to look for which way the buy and sell signals are trending. So not necessarily taking each individual one, but especially with spot trading altcoins, I love noticing which way these are trending. And the fact that we got this higher buy signal here on the 4 hour, I mean, just look how that trend took off, just because there was this warning that, hey, we had a whole series of a bunch of lower buy signals, lower sell signals. All of a sudden we got a higher sell signal. And then we got a higher buy signal. And that was just a big warning that the trend was shifting on the 4 hour. And look at that. I mean, since where was it? Somewhere in here where the candle closed. I mean, it ended up getting over 100% pump, right? And this isn't to shill this coin. I don't give a shit about this coin. It's just to show you that so many altcoins have broken some serious structure to the upside after some very harsh sell-offs and tight consolidations and stuff like that. So I actually have been feeling a little bit better on altcoins the last week or two rather than Bitcoin. Because like I said, I mean, Bitcoin, it's at such a make or break point right now that it's risky no matter which way, right? I mean, no matter how vocally bearish I am on this, on the fact that I think that we could see much lower prices, you know, I can be wrong. That's a part of trading. You can be wrong. It's just basically planning for it. And the strategy I like to use is getting into a scalp, removing my risk, and hoping it turns into a runner from here. Other than that, I'm not really comfortable because I think that Bitcoin is about to make a big move, and nobody knows for sure which way it's going to go. We all have our educated guesses. We play our probabilities. This just kind of what I mentioned in the Telegram earlier today, you guys, was that I laid out this chart here and I basically said, let's put this into perspective for those of you guys who watch my live streams and see my Telegram posts, and, you know, many people will send me pictures of STUBER fibs and ask if that's correct. So if you're looking at STUBER fibs on the 5 minute, what would you do if this chart, let's pretend these big numbers on the side that you're emotionally attached to, let's pretend those numbers aren't there and we're just looking at the structure here. How would you feel about it if this was a 5 minute or a 1 minute chart? I just know, me personally, I would be looking at shorting basically something like this with a stop somewhere up here. Now, obviously, not financial advice. Do what works for you. And this is a weekly chart, right? Or sorry, this is a 4 hour chart, but it's a very large time frame move. So I am not laddering into a position blind like that just because I would rather look for shorter time frame setups and trade it just like kind of how I was talking about earlier, right? But the point I'm making is structure is structure, whether you're looking at scalps or swing trades, you're looking at the 1 minute, 5 minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly. Structure is structure at the end of the day. So ignore the numbers and just look at the chart for what it is. If this is a 5 minute, would you say we're at support and you should buy right now? Or are we at resistance and you should be cautious, if nothing else? I'm not saying you have to short like I am. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. Just be careful. If you're looking at listening to a lot of influencers out there saying that, you know, we are going to all-time highs, this is guaranteed at this point, blah, blah, blah. Just be a little bit cautious. That's all I'm asking of you. It's not to say we can't break out, just we're at resistance, and I'm going to leave it at that. Let's catch up on the chat here a little bit. Oh, again, with the car question, I answered that the last two streams. Talk about Pi. I will not. Actually, I will. I'll mention Pi. Give me a sec here, though. The price looks good. I'm confident. There's no sign of any doubters. Nothing can jinx us now. YouTube notification, the classic, the dreaded Stu video. But again, like I just said at the beginning, guys, myself, as bearish as I sound, I am very aware of the risks involved with where we're at right now. Right. I'm not going to see, that's the difference, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, we're guaranteed to go higher. Haha, we're going so much higher, right? As we trade into a bull trap resistance zone. See, I'm willing to say that, I'm bearish because we're at resistance, but I'm aware that, always have a plan B. That's the thing. If you're actually trading, if you're actually a trader, have a backup plan. That's all there is to it. Don't toss risk management out the window just because you are 100% sure that something is going to happen. Because I can promise you, the more bullish the market feels and the more bullish sentiment being rammed down your throat. I mean, the top of market cycles are always the most bullish that crypto has ever been. Let me repeat that. Every time that a bull market peaks, the space has never been more bullish than at that moment until all of a sudden the pivot happens. So, not saying we have to have topped yet, but I'm open to the idea that we are trading at resistance. The monthly chart, guys, I will say it is nice to see that we are above that order block that I've been talking about for quite some time. I haven't flipped it green yet because, you guys, we have not closed a candle above it yet, and that monthly chart has 19 days left. That has almost 3 weeks, so a lot can happen. If we're going to see a rejection on this 4-hour chart right now, or the daily, or the weekly, whatever you want to call it, we would very easily drop back below this box in the next 3 weeks. So we're going to have to see what happens. Sui to 40. I'll take a look at that as well in a little bit. So far we got Pi and Sui on deck. BTC to 93K. Do I agree with that? Yeah, I mean, if this is going to play out as a typical STUBER fib setup, the first target, you guys, is about $10,000 US dollars lower than what we are right now. And if we hit the second target, we would be 20,000 US dollars lower than we are right now. So just understand that that wouldn't even be bearish, in my opinion. At that point, that's just a healthy retest of the uptrend that we started. That I would be a buyer down here. I would hopefully have a short running, but I would be looking at hedging along at that point, because really, like I mentioned earlier, we did break this lower high structure, right? On the micro trend. We did break that. I can't argue that. That's bullish structure right there. But where the up or where the downtrend started, we haven't broke that either. But basically, we are still in the same range that we've been in since January 20th, right? Since we topped there, we haven't broke that yet. So that's the top of my fib. Where we bottomed, we have not broke this down at around 75K or whatever, 74.5K. We are still in that range, and we are at the resistance side of the range currently. Support of the range would be down closer to 82K. I mean, let's pull a fib. If the same thing as looking at this bearish one, we had a structure break to the downside, and then I'm looking for that pullback. If this was a 5-minute, obviously, on the weekly, I don't have the patience to actually trade the weekly. So, but this kind of a structure, right? That's kind of the area that we're looking for after we break the trend. Now that we did break it that way, well, if we break that uptrend, where are we looking at pulling back to? I would be looking at a STUBER fib the other side of things, right? And everyone will be getting extremely bearish if we get down to that level. And that's where I'll become a buyer. It's just because, not even necessarily that I'll be bullish at that time. I might still be under the impression that, it could be bear market on, but I would still be looking for some long plays there because it's just an obvious level of support. And if everyone's going to be screaming for bear market on when we get there, then we're going to do this. And people will say all-time highs, here we come. People flip-flop so fast on this kind of thing. They're so emotional with Bitcoin. And that's exactly, for those of you who appreciate how level-headed I can stay about it, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I try to keep a very level head, right? I'm just looking at the charts for what they are. No emotional attachment, because I don't care which way we go. I just like trading. I don't care which way I trade. Honestly, I love shorting just as much as I love playing the long side. I would love a parabolic run just like the next guy. I would love a huge altcoin season. And honestly, like I mentioned, I'm not ruling that out. There's a lot of big structure changes on some altcoins. But Bitcoin itself, I have my concerns. That's all. And guys, if you do want to see more of my charts, you do just want to see, you know, more of my level-headed approach, how I pull my fibs, how I look at some of my indicators, how I look at market structure, some of the private videos that I've released for the foundation of STUBER fibs and how to use them. That's all in my free Telegram channel. If you're trading under my BloFin link, you can get access to that through the QR code on the screen, or there is a link with steps in the description down below. And actually, currently, you guys, my partners at BloFin are also giving us, you guys in the Telegram channel, a special promotion for deposit and trade rewards. And this is running until May 25th. So some very good rewards there, obviously, depending on where you're at with things, but very good. Take advantage of that if that's something that interests you. Like I said, that's available to all of you guys in my Telegram channel. So, yeah, let's take a look at some shorter time frames, you guys. Interesting where we're seeing a little bit of struggle right here. Not too surprising, honestly. Here's something that I like to look at with my indicators a little bit. The AI charting tools, that's the one printing these lower low signals. Although there was no lower high signal printed here like there was up here. The fact that I have a lower low and a lower low, just like how I normally look at my own structure, I'm going to look at the highest point between the two as resistance, and notice where we ended up just running into a little bit of a rejection here. Looks like we did go slightly higher. So at that point, I don't know. That's messy. I'm personally not interested in longing all that much right now. I'd rather play altcoins than Bitcoin at this point, as far as the bullish side of things. But yeah, not too surprised to see us struggling with a little bit of resistance there. What is the trend master showing? We have a buy signal, but we're already having a hard time holding it. And again, just like what I mentioned earlier on the 4-hour, we have now lower buy signals. I would not be surprised to see a lower sell signal to kick in here. If we do end up just bouncing from here, just want to talk about some what ifs. Notice I have a purple box up here. If we do end up breaking this resistance and shooting up there, that's basically just looking at my new STUBER fib on the 5-minute from where we topped basically overnight for me early in the morning. Yeah, that would just be looking for a pullback, because obviously we broke this uptrend, broke some structure there. And now if we end up climbing, once again, it's just the fact that this whole range is basically resistance at that point, right? So, and the fact that it's up near the macro 886, and you know what? And then if it gets invalidated at that point, you know, breaking above the 886 period, I mean, that's a lot of strength. I would still be interested in looking for that swing fail, a double top, anything like that on the larger time frame. I would still be looking for short setups in this whole area, but again, I wouldn't be blindly setting them, more so looking for scalp setups and then hoping that one runs is basically what I'd be looking for. Yeah, what else do we have here? I did want to look at the 4-hour, check out some indicators here. Let me I want to clean up a few things. I want to keep my support here. Yeah, let's check a couple indicators. So you guys see how I have my fibs right now. I can bring up the MDX ALGO master, which has, in the inputs here, I have auto fib levels, fib type STUBER fibs, so they're automatic. If I flip that on, I can, well, it actually changed, or maybe that was the daily that I was looking at earlier. Yeah, the daily is what has the same ones. So it's pointing out the same type of resistance here on the daily chart as what I'm showing with mine. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very choppy right now on the shorter time frame, but you can just tell even if we end up smashing through this, this is just why I always say, you guys, that this is such a strong level of interest, right? We've been trading in this fib pocket. Everybody who was screaming all-time highs right around the corner and all that sort of thing, it was right at this level that all of a sudden we just stopped, right? For 5 days now, we just got stopped at this level. So it's obviously getting some sort of a reaction, no matter how you look at it. Trendmaster, see, we still have Trendmaster support. So there is still, like I said, there's still potential for either way. I am very uncertain with what Bitcoin's going to do right now, other than the fact I know how I'm going to play it. It doesn't really matter what it does. I'm going to protect myself either way at this point. But yeah, that's I'll give that a point to the bulls. But, you know, even if we end up getting a rejection here and we end up losing that and getting a sell signal, at that point, you know, I'll have my eyes open for, are we going to print a higher buy signal and confirm a higher trend, right? Liquidations, that was another one I noticed right before streaming, is another reason I'm open to the idea of potentially having bottomed already, and why I updated my stop loss and took some profits off my position and that sort of thing early, is because we have a couple things showing potential support, right? The Trendmaster indicator, the liquidations band. Speaking of liquidations, I know I pointed this out on my Telegram channel the other day. This will be another point for the bears, is that, you know what? We are starting to see a lot of liquidations forming to the downside, right? Does it make sense that we could crash from here? You know, I would say so, because notice that there's liquidity all the way down to my STUBER fib pocket, right? Notice that it's basically, we got a whole bunch sitting right above the 786 there. So yeah, even if this is a healthy trend, it would actually be much healthier, in my opinion, if we did pull back to these levels and retest support, grab some of that liquidity, drive fear back into the market by pushing down to support, and then blast off from there. You know what? I'm totally open to that idea. Or like I said, even if we don't blast off from there, I'll be interested in longs down here. I will be a buyer at these levels. If you were really antsy to try and get into some sort of a long, I can see potential for a scalp, something like this. I'm not interested in it myself, just because we're, you know, I don't know if I trust a 5-minute bullish setup to outweigh a bearish 4-hour daily and weekly pattern. But everybody trades different. Some people only want to play the long side, but at least here, I do see that, hey, we broke something here at least. Also broke this level here. So at least we got a strong bounce there. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm not interested in that, but I do see potential support. I do see that we could do something like this. You know, absolutely it's possible. I'm just not interested in playing it. Yeah, the reason I took a little bit of a scalp short earlier was just this structure back here. We had this low, we set a lower low here. So I just pulled a fib from this high here. Just another typical micro setup, right? Being I'm bearish at these levels, I didn't even take any profits at the 0.5, because especially since I got in late, I did take a quarter of it at the 214. Yeah, that's a very small move, but you know what? That's the range I pulled. I wanted to reduce some risk very quickly. And from there, down around the 786, when it looked, this purple line here, when it looked like we might find support there, I closed another quarter. So I still have half my position running risk-free. But yeah, just treating it just like I was talking about earlier. Since I'm playing this cautiously right now, I am just looking at taking the first part of my setup as a scalp. And from there, if I catch a runner, you know what? If this thing nukes 10 or 20 grand to the downside, you won't see me complaining because I left some open. Yeah, it would be great if I left the whole thing open and it happened. But I'm not banking on home run trades, right? I'm open to taking them if it happens, but I'm not relying on it. I'm relying on reducing my risk quickly, paying myself a little bit, and carrying on. Okay, I did promise to look at a few altcoins. Let's take a peek at a few things. Pi, I had mentioned. Let me know if I'm on the wrong charts or anything, but I think this is the one you're talking about. Pi. Holy smokes, what kind of a wick was that? Pi, the coin that so many people thought they got rich off of when they thought that they could sell and then did not sell when they were given the opportunity. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this chart. Yeah, it's looked pretty flatlined. I don't really follow anything about the fundamentals, know nothing about it. Other than I know it was just click your phone to mine kind of a thing. Let's go to the daily. So Pi has not actually broke a lower high yet. Ooh, that's actually nasty structure in my opinion. Even if we broke that kind of a tight consolidation, at that point, I could get on board with saying, yeah, we might flip that resistance into support. But as far as actually changing the trend, like here would have been our low, right? Here was our low, lower low. That means the highest point between the two is the lower high. So it's actually quite a ways yet. But that being said, you end up breaking this resistance and flipping it to support. I'm guessing it's going to test the top of the range. And that would be, yeah, that could be almost a couple 100% move to the upside if that happens. Again, I don't really follow Pi. I don't have high beliefs in it. I think it was a lot of hopium. But as far as the chart, yeah, I would want to see it break that tight consolidation before anything. Sui, I said I would look at. Yeah, so same thing as Bitcoin, right? I haven't looked at this one in a while, but same thing as Bitcoin. We ended up breaking, smashing through that lower high on the micro trend there. Let's actually see if the AI tools, yeah, so same thing, right? They show the lower low, highest point between the twos right there. We end up breaking that. Boom, the micro downtrend was broken at that point. Where are we at now? I mean, I feel better about it than I do with Bitcoin, right? Because I don't think we're at resistance quite yet. We're getting close. We are getting close. What would that be? Sui up to 455 is kind of where you're starting to get near that 786 level. 495 for the 886, and then double top would be around 537. Yeah, we're not quite at the macro resistance level yet anyways. This is starting to get a little messy. Like I'm almost willing to consider this a higher high. And if we lose this range here, well, if we lose that support, then I think we're just coming back down to test the support down here. But it doesn't necessarily look too bad. I think there's a good chance we end up going higher and tagging some of that actual resistance. What is the liquidations looking like? I don't know if that indicator will even show up on this chart, actually. Doesn't look like it. AI charting tools, yeah, we're at a supply level. And again, if we end up dropping, then we're probably testing this this demand zone. What else? What else do I see about this? Just want to map out a couple things. So this is the daily. Let's hop down to the 4 hour. Yeah, this is a little more clear here. I don't really want to see us close a candle below this level. But again, if it does happen, we do have this higher low printed down here. That's where we could start looking for something like this. If we end up seeing a little bit of a pullback. test the STUBER fib, for example, or even lower, right? Maybe a double bottom, maybe liquidity grab, however you want to look at it. Seeing something like that, you may get a better long entry to play it towards resistance, something like that, right? I haven't been trading SUI myself recently anyways, but I could see that being potential, having potential. AI XVT, that's one I haven't looked at in a while. Looks very similar, honestly. It's funny. Like I often say in these streams, guys, that once you really get an eye for the STUBER fibs, you start to see them everywhere. And I think there was even one that played out here. If you were, oh, excuse me, I just got the hiccups here. But here we had our high, well, printed as a higher high, and a higher high, right? So lowest point between these two would be our higher low. We don't have a higher low printed here. I don't know if it will print one. That's the indicator. That's not my own structure, right? It pulls from, I don't know what all of its triggers are, but how I would look at the structure, this would be our next higher low. And if you were to pull a fib, because we did end up setting that higher high there, pull from the lowest point, boom. So yeah, it's a small move, but as far as looking for range plays, that's just, and obviously this is hindsight because it's already happened, but just to show you how often that actually happens, whether you're looking at bigger time frames or micro ones like this is just typical STUBER fib structure on a small scale of just a small range, right? Because we get that higher high, we pull the fib from the higher low, boom, that's where you're looking for your support. And we've already hit the 0.5 target. So from there, depends how your risk appetite is. But that's basically my first target. Second target would be the 214. And then I'd hope to catch a beautiful runner. You know, that's at that point, it's risk free. And you just hope that it takes off to the moon. And then you catch it with part of the position if it happens. And you have taken some profits if it doesn't happen. So yeah, as it stands right now, I would say AI XBT is healthy as long as it's basically staying above this 19.333 cents, or 0.19333, however you want to look at it. As far as the micro uptrend, I would say that if that ends up breaking, there's still this potential support from down here, just because it has indicator confluence as well. I would say that there is support from, call it 0.172 down to 0.163 would be good potential support there. If it ends up dropping this higher low signal around 15.222, I would say at that point it's looking a little bit risky. Even if it got some sort of a bounce at that point, let's say it gave one of these, invalidates the STUBER, and then gets a pullback. At that point, I would be looking for something like this, right? Because at that point, the structure would have changed, and I'd be looking at something like that. Just looking ahead. As it stands right now, that's a nice uptrend. Same thing with the MDX Trendmaster indicator, still holding a beautiful uptrend here. Liquidations band, we have support very close to that bigger STUBER fib that I pulled there, so a little bit of indicator confluence there. Liquidations are starting to pile up below. If we end up losing these important support levels, start losing these levels, I mean, it makes sense that if we pulled a fib from the start of the swing, that would be very close to a double bottom, right? Just below the 886 a little bit. There's a lot of liquidity there. Want to look at hype? You know I want to look at hype. Adrian, you silly goose. Hype. I mean, I can see already something that happened. This is obviously going to be hindsight. But let's just, since I haven't looked at this in a while, let's just break down what happened here and what to expect. Same thing as far as structure goes. We obviously had this high, higher high, and we ended up breaking this structure here. Is that a STUBER fib? Did it quite hit that? No, not quite. Hey, it got front run. So if you were looking for that type of a setup, it never quite happened. So yeah, basically as it stands, we have a bearish pivot there, right? Since we lost this structure. So I'm going to mark this as our high. That's our high pivot point. Top of the range. So far, this is the bottom of the range, right? So I could pull, if we're looking for resistance on something like this on the micro trend here, which just started right here, I'd be looking at this kind of a fib. We would have resistance up around 25, call it 25.80 is where you'd start to see potential macro. Well, I shouldn't say macro, just a micro 4-hour resistance. I want to zoom out a little bit further. Oh yeah, I remember looking at this the other day and having mixed feelings about it. I feel like pulling a fib from this resistance here, just the top of this range, and it really looks like we're facing, well, you know what? If that is the case, basically came up perfectly to the 886, just like Bitcoin basically. When did that top? Yeah, right around, well, late January. Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. We're at resistance. We've started a micro downtrend, but if that gets invalidated, we end up just invalidating that micro downtrend and, just starting staircasing, then yeah, at that point, I don't know where it's going to stop because there is not a lot of other price action, price history past that. Unless there is on a different exchange or something. That's very possible, by the way. Just for what I'm looking at here on the BloFin chart. But what are some indicators saying? Trendmaster, we still have potential support here. That's something to consider. AI charting tools, it brought up, well, a whole bunch of supply up here. So a big supply zone. So not too, well, yeah, that's just showing a whole bunch of resistance, right? That's all there is to it. What else? What else can I spot here? What about liquidations? They're starting to build up to the downside. Liquidation band, potential support fairly nearby. Yeah, mixed feelings about this chart, honestly, but yeah, the micro trend is to the downside on the 4-hour at this point. Because like I said, even if you just want to, even wicks, I would act, and I do like using wicks, but I would say, this was our higher low. We lost it, so we have our lower low, and we've actually went lower, even though that was just a wick. It did still go lower, and so at this point, I mean, if the micro trend was going to hold, you would see this high end up holding as a lower high. The thing is, even if we end up breaking that, just because of how the structure formed and where we currently are, your next resistance would still be so nearby that I would just play the whole range at that point. The whole range, meaning where we've pivoted from, is what I'd be looking at more so. I'll take a look at a shorter time frame. Let's zoom into the hourly. Interesting. Just want to adjust things very slightly. Let's look at where we're at from here. Notice where we're getting rejected right now, potentially. But again, so this is, I don't want to get you too excited about this because it's obviously hindsight already. It's one of those things that, as far as the micro trend, it would have happened very quickly. But again, just a typical STUBER fib setup, right? We had the low, lower high, pull the fib from there, chase the price. We eventually come back up to the 786. But again, it's a smaller range and it's already hit the 0.5 fib. So as far as the scalp setup, it may have already played out. But yeah, like I said, I mean, as far as looking at what happened here, we did lose structure here. So we are still in a micro downtrend at this point. Oh, I was looking at the wrong pie, apparently. That's okay. Yes, I will check MicroStrategy and I will check Mudang. AIXBT, hopefully you were here when I went over that, or yeah, I went over AIXBT. I will look at Ethereum as well before I end here, but let's start with MicroStrategy just because that caught my eye and I also want to see what it's doing. I would say it's doing something very similar to what Bitcoin's doing. I haven't looked at this one in a while. I don't even think it's at the 786 quite yet, actually. Not quite. Interesting. Yeah, MicroStrategy isn't quite at its macro resistance yet. As far as the 4-hour uptrend, here, actually, I am going to map out this box just so it's here for next time. All right, where to begin here? As far as the 4-hour trend, since we have bottomed down at these levels, down around 230, we'll call it, we're still holding the micro uptrend, right? Because we have this high, we have our higher high. This would be our higher low on the micro trend. So I'm willing to call that as long as it stays basically above 374. It's still holding okay structure on the micro 4-hour trend. Hasn't quite hit that resistance yet, like I said. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Let's check what's the trend master saying. So here's one of those times. See, so that was another beauty one, right? Talking about using this indicator, noticing which way they're trending. So we had lower trending sell signals. As soon as we got that lower sell signal, it was a beautiful short opportunity. But then we ended up getting a higher buy signal here. Very slightly, but it is very slightly higher. And that was a beautiful warning that the trend was reversing at that point, right? How much is it up since that? Currently about 32%, topping out around 40% from there. So yeah, there is, as far as this indicator goes, still showing support. My naked structure on the chart still showing support. Resistance not too far away. That would start around 477. We're currently at 404. So even that, if we are going to get up to that level, I mean, that's a 17% climb yet. So obviously doesn't have to happen, but you know, it is there. The ALGO master, that's no longer valid at all, so that doesn't give us anything. Trading below the daily open. What's liquidation saying? We have liquidations on either side. Still a little bit above us. Starting to see it pool up below us a little bit. Fractals, we're seeing a potential pivot, but these print all the time. Yeah. Like I said, the uptrend, we still got this micro uptrend on the 4 hours. So, but just be cautious. As soon as we lose one of those levels, then, you know, if we end up breaking a level like that, then we might see some sort of a retrace. Everybody gets bullish, right, as you're trading back into resistance, and then bear trend continues. But we're going to have to see what happens. So far, it's still holding the uptrend. I want to save that. Okay, I'll look at two more. I'm going to look at WIF, and then I am going to look at Ethereum last, just in case there's a little more to talk about on Ethereum, but I will check out WIF. Dog with hat, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Ooh, nice little pump there. Nice. See, like I said, so many meme coins started finding those support levels and breaking their downtrends. All right, like let's just look at the microstructure here, like what I've been talking about. You know, here we have a low. We set a lower low. That makes this our lower high. but we set another lower low, lower high. And look what happens when we end up breaking that trend, right? We flip that resistance into support. And again, there's just a lot of altcoins. I'm seeing it specifically in meme coins because that's mostly what I've been watching and trading spot and stuff like that. But I'm seeing so many meme coins that have been breaking that kind of structure. Or, I mean, this one wasn't even coiled up all that long, but that's just a beautiful breakout. And yeah, as far as the daily, I mean, we just have this obvious uptrend as long as we hold basically this order block, right? Be looking at something like this. As long as we can hold that as support, I mean, it's still on a beautiful uptrend on the daily. Could look for a fib. Notice that the fibs line up very close with the top of that order block as well. So a little bit of additional confluence there. Let's zoom in a little bit. 4 hour. The structure is the exact same because I don't consider this any sort of higher low because there's no higher high confirmed. This was our recent high, higher high. So where I have my support is the same, right? And that's right around 86 cents. I assume same thing, Trendmaster, beautiful buy trend. Same thing, right? You're starting to see a theme with why I love this indicator specifically for spot trading on higher time frames like this. But we have an obvious down, lower sell, lower sell, lower sell, as well as lower buy, lower buy, lower buy, lower buy. All of a sudden we end up printing a higher buy. That's just a very big warning sign that a trend with the indicator is broken. It's not that I take each individual signal all too seriously, but when I notice which way they're trending, I mean, this is just a beautiful thing right here. I mean, how much has it climbed since that? Currently up 160%, topped out at 200% from there. Same with, we got a higher sell signal. The sell signal, not as important because it's a higher one, right? So it's obviously trending to the upside. Print another buy signal, boom, straight to space again, right to the moon mission. So love to see that. That's still a beautiful trend. Down at that higher low, I said around 86 cents. I mean, that's where we're starting to see indicator confluence as well. So again, guys, if you guys appreciate my level-headed approach to this, please do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe. Because like I said, yeah, I know this is probably a breath of fresh air for a lot of people because so often I'm just talking about the bearish side of things. But I just want to show that, even though I'm cautious and a little bit cautiously bearish with Bitcoin right now, a lot of things in the market don't look so bad. I'm kind of playing both sides right now. After whiff, I want to check out Ethereum. The last thing I'll check out for the evening. So Ethereum, well, let's just go to a naked chart here. Obviously, I had a few things mapped out. I had mentioned this in a stream a couple streams ago. Unfortunately, we never got the pullback to the STUBER fib there on the 4 hour. But I was pointing out that Ethereum had broken its downtrend before Bitcoin did, which was interesting because same thing, same structure, right? Low, lower low, lower high. We broke that level. Yeah, we saw a little pullback, but it was bullish, right? We broke that structure. We saw a pullback. That's very natural. Never quite hit the 786. Very close though. So yeah, just a healthy pullback and then ended up just exploding to the upside. So I haven't been watching Ethereum. I haven't been trading it. I don't own it. But I did mention this and it's still, obviously that was a nice move to the upside. Even if it pulls back, I mean, obviously we could start looking for a bigger fib pull. I think at this point, that's a little bit excessive, and I don't know if it's going to happen unless the market actually takes a serious nosedive. But yeah, what do we got here? Trendmaster indicator on the 4 hour, still holding a nice uptrend. And I would also say that, just looking at naked structure, technically we did wick above this. That's a dirty one. This could be suggesting that we lost that uptrend, but I don't know. This is a cleaner level for me yet. I think as long as it can stay basically above this 2268, I think it's okay. Trendmaster, very close to that level as well. So a little bit of confluence. And well, right there, the AI charting tools. printing a support box right at that level as well, or a demand zone, whatever you want to call it, but right at that level. What about liquidations? Yeah, well, the liquidations band also lining up at that exact level right now. So just a lot of things starting to line up, right? That there's potential support right around that level. Regular liquidation lines, that is starting to pull to the downside a little bit. I mean, there's some that is just right at that support level we were just talking about. So it's very possible, I think, that we pull back down to that level. From there, we're going to have to see. But yeah, again, I don't have too much bad to say about altcoins yet at this point. If altcoins, like I said, if they are pumping and Bitcoin starts dumping aggressively, I will have my concerns that this could be the last hurrah. That's kind of the last money circulating around trying to make a quick buck. And then, maybe it's the cycle ending alt season, but we're going to have to see. Like I said, so many altcoins look like they've just started breaking to the upside and just started staircasing higher. So we're really going to have to see what happens. Oh, Mudang. Sorry, I will look at that as well on the lower time frames. Yeah, as far as, I mean, if you caught a swing fail there, that would have been beautiful on Ethereum on the 1 hour. Obviously, we just had this little failed break above and ended up getting rejected. So even if you played that as a STUBER fib, I mean, it would have played out beautifully as well. But again, that would be hindsight. It's obviously hit the first two take profits. But yeah, there might be a bit of a downtrend starting here. We're going to have to see if the price did something like this, comes back down, tests this level, and then breaks some sort of microstructure. That would be very bullish, in my opinion. That's where I'd be looking for longs on that sort of thing. I mean, I probably won't just because I haven't been trading Ethereum, but that's the kind of setup that I'd be looking for, bouncing off support like that. Yes, I did promise Mudang. Is it on BloFin? It is. Why am I not trading this? Low time frames, you say. I am going to start on the bigger time frames just to get a feel for it. Obviously, a very strong uptrend of this. Man, did that break out. Again, talking about altcoins that basically broke their downtrends of just setting lower low, lower low, lower low, lower high. We break that, an absolute moon mission. It's kind of a common theme that we're seeing out of meme coins specifically recently. So yeah, obviously the FOMO is going to be strong. That's a serious freight train right now. The 4 hour micro trend. I mean, this is where we last found support down here. So on the 4 hour, here's our high, higher low. Zoom in one more, the 1 hour. The 1 hour, we would have support here, where again, higher high, higher low on the micro trend. So that 1 hour support currently sitting, in my opinion, around 19.4 cents. 0.194-ish. What is Trendmasters? Obviously showing great support. Man, that's just staircasing beautifully still. Even this kind of structure where we lose this, for example, I don't consider that losing a higher low because, again, this is the higher low I'm concerned with. Where did we end up finding support here? Never quite tested the 6-1 or the 786. Might be a 618 in there. I bet the candle bodies are probably closing around the 618 there. Zoom in lower time frames. I think you said the 15 minutes, so let's get right into the dirty of it. This is where, when we start really zooming in, we did break some structure, right? One thing is, it may have played out already. If that uptrend is going to remain very strong, this is where I would say that, yes, this is a lot of micro analyzing, but technically we were setting highs here. Even if they were just wicks, we were staircasing a little bit higher. We ended up losing that support. And if we look where we got rejected, I'm not sure if that was a STUBER. Very close to the 786. That would have obviously played out. But then I guess we would continue following the price because we went lower. So technically there's potential resistance up ahead if we climb a little bit higher. A 15 would look something like that. So it really depends what kind of time frame you're looking at. But yeah, as far as the 15-minute goes, I would say that it did start at least some sort of a micro downtrend right at this level here, just because of losing this. To break this, obviously this was our next low, lower low, lower high. So really, I mean, if I pulled a fib from our confirmed lower high, notice where we ended up getting rejected so far. Right at the 786, hit the 0.5. So again, this is all, obviously there's going to be ranges inside of bigger ranges, inside of bigger ranges, inside bigger ranges, et cetera, et cetera. That's very natural. So it totally depends what kind of a range that you're looking at playing, because I always say myself anyways, I always play the range first. That's why I have my TPs on my fibs there. I always play the range first. And like I said earlier, I hope to catch a runner with the rest basically. But so yeah, there's a few things to be a little bit cautious of right now with this one. But again, even with looking at that micro downtrend, like if we consider this our lower high, if that gets invalidated, we're still just at the bigger ranges resistance just because of how the structure is right now. I don't know if I would want to bet against this, to be honest, just because, like I said, that is a freight train on the daily. But as far as looking for some sort of a hedge, perhaps, yeah, you know, we have potential resistance coming up. If I zoom out, let's talk more, you know, let's talk the big resistance would be, I'd be looking at pulling from the top basically around 70 cents. And we could be looking at something like this. If we end up just continuing to blast to the upside, because I have no idea how this thing's going to move. You never know with meme coins, but it might run straight to this level. I would start having concerns at this level. And I would, if I was holding some spot, which I'm not, I would be looking at least taking partial profits, just because, again, at that point, you're trading into resistance, right? You can always, at that point, let's say it continues higher, you can always buy a retest, or, you know, even just set a stop order. If it breaks out, you end up buying back in, or just consider it smart profit taking, right? Either way, no matter how you want to look at it. Thanks to Ego Oilers. Yeah, they're not too far from me. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I know they're, well, they did better than usual this year, I'd say, the last couple of years. Where am I at with Trump coin? Honestly, I haven't looked at it in quite a while. I will look at, okay, one more. You twisted my very rubbery arm on a nice, hot, sunny day. Well, obviously it has broke its micro uptrend here. Kind of looks like a Bart Simpson pattern forming here. That's the 15-minute, hey? What's the, I'm gonna look at the 4-hour here. Ooh. Interesting. Well, I think you know what I see already, but technically this is one of those higher high, higher low. We ended up breaking that. Where do we get our retest to? I don't know if this quite hit. It'll be close. But yeah. Where did we end up running into troubles, right? There's a reason I love talking about these levels. There's a reason I love showing them, whether, even if they're in past tense, looking for them in the future, seeing them currently, whatever. You guys, if you do want to see this type of, you know, these types of examples, you want to learn more about my fib strategies, my indicator strategies, how I look at market structure in general. If that stuff all interests you, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen, click on the link and follow the steps in the description down below. Yeah, just kind of posting my general thoughts on the markets and just how I'm looking at approaching the markets, all that sort of stuff. Some of my trade setup ideas and just how I'm looking at trading the market in general, all that sort of stuff. So hope to see you in there. But yeah, how is Bitcoin doing right now? Still, well, still basically struggling right at that macro 786. That is where we are trading right now. Very interesting times, guys. Like I said, I don't really care if you're bullish or bearish. I don't care. We could trade the exact opposite directions, and all that matters at the end of the day is how you execute that trade. We could both win the trade. We could both lose the trade. One of us could win, one could lose, whatever. All I'm saying is right now, I think it's time to be cautious just because, like I said, Bitcoin has a nice uptrend going for it on the midterm here. It feels strong. The price looks strong, but the price always looks strongest at resistance. It always looks weakest at support. And the emotions, like I said, the FOMO posts we're going to start on social media right at the 786, boom, right on target. I'm sure those of you who are on Twitter and that sort of stuff, I'm sure you were seeing it immediately, just the last 4 or 5 days, basically. It has gone nuts. And that's exactly why we're at a perfect bull trap area. Yes, we could break out, but just understand we are still at resistance. So please be careful, you guys. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. If so, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss these streams. And as I mentioned, if you want access to my private Telegram channel where I share some of my theories, some of my trade setup ideas, just my overall thoughts in the market in general, there is a link down below with steps in the description, as well as the QR code on the screen. And again, guys, my partners at BloFin are currently giving you guys this promotion as well, currently for deposit and trade rewards. So do yourselves a favor, get involved with that. But with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you for being here with me once again. I'm out. Peace.